Okay, you to call. As we have learned in the first lecture that some bond may have some call provision. So basically, if you just assume that if the bond is redeemed or is called by the issuer, what would be the yield or the return you receive? So it depends on when the bond will be called because some bond may have more than one time that the bond can be called. So you just explicitly assume about when the bond will be called and what is the price that you will receive or the cash flow that you receive from the issuer. Basically, the call price. And all these things already identified in the bond indenture. So you know this, but what you don't know is when, because it depends on the market interest rate, right, in the future. So you just assume, okay, suppose the bond is called in the first time, then the issuer are allowed to do that. So you know the first call price, and then you just try to solve for y. Okay, given that you know the current price, suppose CPO. Okay, CPO, the last issue they have the bond had the call provision. So we just implicitly assume, okay, we buy the bond at this price and we get the coupon, and then we know when the bond can be called. So we just implicitly assume, okay, when. So you know n star here by the assumption, okay, and then m star is the call price, okay, and then you solve for y. This is the yield to call, okay. Basically, just for making decision whether you should buy or you should, buy or not. So you can come up with the number. Okay, this is the yield to call. Are you okay with this? If the bond is called,
When is the end? The first date of the call?
it depends on your assumption. Suppose that the first call is on 2 years, next 2 years. So what is the yield to call for the first call? Suppose this bond also allow multiple call. Suppose the first time issuer may not feel to call the bond, so it's maybe the next call. So this is just assume. Okay. What about the yield to call if the bond is called for the first time? What about the yield to call if the bond is called for the second time? Because the exact date is already specified in the bond indenture. So M here, maybe 2 years from now, maybe 3 years from now. Okay? But of course, you come up with a different yield to call. Right? I'm not sure whether you understand what I mean. The call date, there might be more than one. Of course, if the issuer call for the first time, that's all. It's end, right? Then you get paid. But this is just a scenario, okay? Scenario number 1, the bond is called for the first time. What is the yield to call? Scenario number 2, if the bond is called in the second time, in some specified period in the future. Okay, all this is specified in the bond indenture. Maybe, okay, 2 years, okay, what is the yield to call for the first scenario? 3 years, what is the yield to call for the second scenario? Until maybe, last year before the maturity, 1 year before the maturity, like that. Depends on, the bond indenture. Okay? Any question? So you know the date of the call date. And then you assume case number 1, okay? If the bond is called for on this date, what is the yield that you receive? Because M would change over time, depends on the call date too. The call price is not the same for, different period. Case number 2, okay, if the bond does not call for the first time, it will be called for the second time. What is the yield to call? For number 3, maybe after that, okay, depends on. You don't know because this is in the future, right? You don't know the market interest rate. If the market interest rate does not decline, of course, issuer may not call the bond. So issuer may have to trade off between the refinancing cost, hire the financial advisor again, issue the new bond, then make decision whether is it a good idea to refinance by issue the new bond and pay back the money to the old bond, existing bond. Okay. Any question here? Seems that you still not quite clear for this one. For the market, it's basically you just assume when the bond is called. Okay, when the bond is called, and you have to check in the bond indenture. If you understand yield to call, then you understand the yield to put. Suppose the bond is sold back to the issuer. Okay, this is if the bond has the call a put provision. Okay, the bondholder has the right to sell back the bond. Okay, and then of course in the bond indenture provide the put price. Okay, in the bond indenture provide the put price. So you just assume. Okay, the put price suppose 2 years from now, the bondholder can sell back the bond at the put price. Normally maybe set at par. Okay, and then we look at the return or the average yield that the bondholder receive if the bond is sold back to the bondholder. Sorry, the bond issuer. Okay, so the formula basically the same as the call, but what we change is M here is not the call price, is the put price. Okay, and N it depends on the put when the bondholder can sell back the bond. Okay, so you have to check the bond indenture. Okay, when the bond can sell back, and then you solve for Y again. Even that you know the price, you solve for Y. Okay, so the difference of this between this and the yield to maturity, basically this bond, if there is a call provision or the put provision, the bond may not be held until maturity.
If the bond is annually paid, right?
It can be annually pay or it can be
Yes.
semi-annually.
What about in star? Can it be 1.5 or 2.5, something like that? If
No, because based on our discussion, right? Normally, the period must be consistent with the payment. So, suppose the bond pay the coupon every 6 months. So you suppose the bond can be called in the next 5 years, suppose. So N should be 5 multiplied by 2. Okay. So it depends on whether how frequent the bond will pay the coupon. So this is basically depends on the frequency, right? The frequency.
If that is you to call it like semi-annually multiplied by 2, right? The
Yes.
one is due.
Basic idea. If this is the semi-annually pay, Y is per 6 months. So in order to come up with the annualized yield, you can use the simple annualized yield by multiply by 2. Or if you want to get the effective annual rate, so you just use the effective formula, right? That we have discussed yesterday, right? Okay. This is the basic idea. Suppose the period is 6 months, so to come up with the yield per year, you can simply multiply by 2, or you can use the effective annual yield. Okay, by take the power of n, number of period or the frequency that the bond pay the coupon in each year.
So why is a periodic interest rate, right?
Periodic interest rate.
It
Yes.
means why
The periodic yield, Y from from what we saw from the equation. Put in here. If you want to get this effective energy. Any other question?
How can we compute the yield to cost in between the period if we want to sell?
That too is too complicated. That will be very complicated. But we can do that actually, by using the same idea. Okay, we just multiply this, just subtract this again with the y. That's what we learned. So basically just the same, but the difference is just m maybe is not equal to the par, and n here is not maybe equal to the yield to maturity. That's all. Not equal to number the year to time to maturity. You compare the formula here, basically just the same, right? Yeah. Basically just the same. So in between, basically just multiply by this. However, the difference is just FV, not the face value. It's just the call price or the put price. And N, not the time to maturity. It's just, when the bond will be called. Right? But other things just the same. Okay, suppose we consider this in between, so we have to multiply by y, 1 plus ry. Okay. Any other question? Of course, either to solve this is hard. So either to solve this question, we have to use some, numerical function in the Excel, like the solver or GoSeek, okay, to solve this. Okay, we need to put same, okay, procedure for the same. Yield for portfolio. Yield for portfolio, suppose that you have more than one bond in your portfolio. All these are fixed income security or bond. Okay, suppose you are the fund manager, fixed income fund manager. How to estimate the average yield in your portfolio? Okay, can we just simply use the value weighted yield? Suppose bond 1, the yield is 3%. We invest in bond 1 for 50%. Bond 2, yield is another 5%, and the weight also 50%. And we can simply just use the value weighted return. Okay? No, actually, theoretically, we should spell out, or actually we just write down all the cash flow received from all bonds in our portfolio. Okay? And then, the current market price of your portfolio, right? So, same idea. What is the value of the portfolio, right? The total sum of the market value of the fixed income portfolio, right? Value of the portfolio. And then you try to estimate the cash flow that you receive in each period. Same formula actually. The yield for portfolio, basically we just try to compute or estimate all the cash flow received from all bonds in our portfolio. C1, okay, the first coupon may come from bond number 1, bond number 2, but not bond number 3, something like this. So you calculate all the cash flow for each period to get C1, C2, C3. Okay, this is these are the cash flow received from all bond in your in your portfolio until the last coupon payment or the last principal. Because some bond may have the maturity shorter, one may be longer. So CN is the longest one, right? CN is the longest maturity of the bond in your portfolio. And then you solve for Y again. You solve for Y again. Okay, so what is the yield for a portfolio that receive this cash flow? Okay. Cannot solve by hand again, so you have to use the numerical function GOSEEK or the solver function.
Ajahn, to clarify this formula, it's the same as the yield to call, but without the n star over 1 plus y.
So basically just same formula, but that is for one bond that we consider, but this one maybe 10 bond or 20 bond, and then we just check all the cash flow received from these 10 or 20 bonds.
So after we get the value of the portfolio, we
Just take the sum of the value of the bond or in our portfolio.
so then that's for the yield. How do we get the yield?
Yield is unknown, so we have to solve. We have to solve for Y, right? We want to know the average yield in our portfolio. Okay, the last one. If you remember, we discussed yesterday that the yield to maturity, or even what we have done for the yield to call, yield to put, that is the implicit assumption about the reinvestment rate. When you solve this equation, to get y, okay, when you solve y here, or when you solve y for the yield to maturity, okay, when you estimate the yield to maturity, also the same, right? Actually same concept. Right, same concept, right? Solve for y or solve for I here. You face with the reinvestment rate risk, right? As we have discussed yesterday, that in order to obtain the return equal to the yield that we solve, there is a reinvestment rate risk that when you get this cash flow, are you be able to reinvest this cash flow to earn the return equal to the yield to maturity or yield to call or yield to put? If the reinvestment rate is not the same, then the actual return you receive may not be the same, right? We have discussed yesterday, right? That suppose that you calculate the yield to maturity equal to 10%. However, the cash flow received during the bond holding, you cannot reinvest this cash flow, the coupon, at the yield to maturity, at the reinvestment rate equal to the yield to maturity. Your actual return is not equal to the yield to maturity. Okay. Also the same for the yield to call. When you solve y in this equation for the yield to call, actually you get the return equal to this. Suppose the bond is called. Again, if you cannot reinvest this coupon at this return y, then your actual return again is not equal to the yield to call. So the total return here, the idea for the total return here, basically we adjust, okay, the reinvestment rate. Adjust the reinvestment rate. Okay, how? Basically, we just, if you remember the modify, I'm not sure whether you remember the modify, just basically just the same idea. Okay, you reinvest, suppose that this is price that you pay for the bond, right? And then you get the coupon, until time to maturity. Suppose this is for the bond that is there is no call or put provision. Okay. The last coupon plus the face value. Suppose. Okay, and this I is the yield to maturity. If you solve for this. However, for the total return, different. For the total return, we explicitly assume about the reinvestment rate. And then we reinvest this cash flow to the terminal period. Okay? Reinvest all the cash flow into the terminal period. Alright? And then you will have the one single future cash flow, one future cash inflow at the terminal period, and you have one single cash outflow or the price that you pay for this bond. So and then you just put into the basic formula P equal to sum of the money, right? Terminal value. Terminal value is the sum of all cash flow at the terminal period. Divide by sum 1 plus some one single discount rate. You solve for I, so I is the total return. Okay, you solve for I, then you get the total return. Basically, the idea for the total return is you reinvest this with some certain reinvestment rate. Suppose you think that, okay, suppose you solve for yield equal to 10%, but you think that you cannot reinvest this cash flow at the 10%. At most, you just put the money into the deposit rate account. So you just assume that, okay, this cash flow can be reinvested at the deposit rate, say 0.5%. So you estimate the future value of this cash flow at the deposit rate 0.5%. You just assume the reinvestment rate. And then you take the sum of all this cash flow received from the coupon plus the principal, the face value. Then you get the terminal value as a numerator. And then you solve for I. So I is the total return per year. Okay, and of course it's not equal to the yield to maturity. Okay, it depends on the reinvestment rate assumption, whether it's higher or lower than the yield to maturity. Okay. Any questions? Very simple. Look at the market price. Market value of the portfolio, right? So you have to know the price of each bond, right? And take the sum. Depends on that. We may invest more in one bond, invest less in another bond. So basically just know the price per unit and multiply by number of units that we hold, right? And take the sum.
Terminal value, is that calculated how?
Oh, just as I mentioned, for C1, okay, what is the terminal value for C1? You just use a basic formula, right? Suppose I say, okay, this one we just put the money in the bank, and the bank give you, say, 0.5% per year. Basically, you just use the basic formula, future value of C1, and this C1 will be in the bank for how many years? Although it should be reinvestment rate, not I. So the terminal value for C1, TV for C1 is equal to C1 multiplied by the reinvestment rate, right? take to the power of how many years? N minus 1, right? C2 is equal to the future value of C2 at terminal period is equal to C2 multiplied by 1 plus the reinvestment rate, right? Multiply, I take to the power of N minus 2, right? And so on until the end. Okay? And take the summation of all cash flow, okay, at terminal period.
Could you start about the reinvestment rate not equal to the founder?
Is it can be any number for the reinvestment rate. So this is that's why it depends on the assumption.
So if the period change, the reinvestment rate change, we must correct from C1 to the period 2 and period 3.
Oh, that may be too complicated. You mean that the reinvestment rate may be different from period to period, right? Oh, that's too complicated. You may just assume, you can do that, but it would be very complicated. Okay, from 1 to 2, you assume one number for the reinvestment rate from this, and 2 to 3, you can do that too, but very take time. You can do step by step. Okay, you just forecast. Okay, from now, 1 year from now, the interest rate may be 0.5%, from 2 to 3, the interest rate maybe increase to 1%, and 3 to 4 can do that too, but very complicated. And then, step by step, you can estimate the future value step by step until you get the value at end here. But here we just assume that, okay, on average, from 1 to n, what is the reinvestment rate? Okay, that's all for this topic, this lecture. Ôi, nói đi đài phố đi. Wow. View. Okay, let's move on to the third topic that will be covered in the quiz too, but not sure whether all of this, the whole lecture will be covered in the quiz or not. Okay, let's discuss at the end of today's lecture. The duration and convexity. Okay, these two technical terms basically measure the bond price volatility. Okay, we talk about this at the end of the chapter, maybe in between, in the middle for duration. At the beginning, we talk about the bond characteristic, or different bond characteristics that may have different volatility, bond price volatility. In finance, when we talk about the risk, okay, we look at the uncertainty or the change of the value, right? Like the stock, how do we measure the risk of the stock? We can look at, basic measure is the standard deviation, right? We can look at the standard deviation of the stock return. And right now you may know beta already. For the bond, okay, normally we do not estimate bond beta, but we can do too, but it's quite, not popular. So how to measure the risk of bond, okay? Back to the meaning of volatility first. Actually, you may know this term, right? Volatility basically just look at the how the bond price change, right? How the bond price change given that because of the key factor that it determine the value of the bond or the bond price is the change of the market interest rate. So the bond price may change because of the market interest rate change. Given 1 unit of the interest rate change, how the bond price change. This is the bond price volatility. Okay? Or we can say that this is the measure of the bond, the interest rate risk of the bond. Okay? And then we're going to look at different characteristics like the time to maturity, the coupon bond, how this would have the effect on the bond price. And duration also one of the measure of the bond price volatility. Later we will see that the duration is the measure of the bond price volatility. Okay. The application of knowing the bond price volatility or the interest rate risk of bond. The first one, hedging, because the bond price change because of the market interest rate change, right? How we hedge or protect the risk, when the market interest rate change. If we don't want the bond price change, how can we do that? Okay, before I move on, just one more thing that I think I should address. What we have discussed here, the change of the bond price. This is based on the assumption that we look at the change of the bond price over time, right? If we hold a bond and how the bond price would change. However, if we hold a bond until maturity, okay, actually for the financial company or the bank, normally there will be, sometimes it's very confused. I can't remember. I mix up between the two book. In the bank there are two books we call trading book and the bank book. Can't remember which one is the trading one, short-term investment one, and the other one is just a buy and hold one. Can't remember. So for the bond price volatility, okay, this may be affect the short-term investment, the trading one, that you speculate the movement of the bond price due to the market interest rate change. However, if your investment horizon basically just hold the bond until maturity, you don't have this risk, okay? Because at maturity you get the principal. Bond price, we don't care because eventually you get the face value back. What the risk that you face for buy and hold is just the default risk. You just concerned about the default risk. But for the trading, okay, if you speculate about the change of the bond price, this is the one that you may be concerned, okay? Alright, so the bond price volatility would be affected, the trading, the change of the bond price over time. Hedging, okay, how to remove the risk. So we have to understand the idea of the interest rate risk of each bond. Speculation, as I mentioned, there is one, I talked to one of our student alumni. They try to recruit our student. One student just joined this interview. And this alumni just asked very simple question. He asked, suppose that, you expect next year the interest rate is going to decrease between the long-term bond and the short-term bond. Which one you going to buy as a bond trader?
Long term.
Okay, so this is very simple question, but I'm not sure whether when you during in the interview, I'm not sure whether you will be nervous and then cannot figure out. Okay, so speculation. Of course, you may not be correct, you may be wrong, or you may be right. It depends on your view. But as a bond trader, you need to have view first. Otherwise, you cannot trade. Okay? So for the speculation, first you take a view how the interest rate gonna be in the future, and then you come up with the strategy. So in the previous question, if we expect the next year interest rate going to decrease, bond price increase, right? However, between the short-term bond and the long-term bond will increase more. However, the long-term bond also has more risk too. So if you wrong, then you get more loss. Okay? So it depends on your view. You may be correct, you may be wrong. The risk control, so you need to control the risk, so you have to understand the risk of each bond in your portfolio. The last one, this one is I have time, I'll mention a little. The duration gap. Right now you may not know the duration. Think about the duration. The duration may have different meaning. One right now, let me just explain like this. In the bank account, in the bank balance sheet, okay, financial statement of position. The left hand side asset, right? The right hand side liability plus equity. The left hand side asset for the bank. What are the core assets of the bank? We have discussed about this, right? Because nature of the bank business, they lend the money. So the core asset that generate revenue for the bank is loan, right? Loan. And the core liability, the main liability of the bank is deposit. There is a mismatch maturity between asset and the liability. As you may know that normally bank lend the money to support to the corporate loan or to the mortgage loan. All these loans have the maturity greater than 1 year, maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years, maybe 30 years, like the mortgage loan, right? But if you look at the maturity of the deposit, they are short term. Saving account, time 3 months, time deposit, 6 months, time deposit. Normally just less than 1 year. So there is the mismatch between asset maturity and the liability maturity. So when the interest rate change, they may affect both left hand side and right hand side. However, how we manage the risk of the decrease of interest rate on the asset and the liability. Okay, so this is one part of the one unit called ALM, asset liability management. So you have to look at the asset and liability, look at the liquidity. Okay, and the duration gap is one measure that come up to help to manage the risk of mismatch between asset and liability. As I mentioned a little bit, right, for short-term and long-term bond, these two bonds may have different interest rate risks or different bond volatility. Okay, so in this case, if we look at different bond characteristics, when the interest rate change may have the change of the bond price. Okay. However, if we consider the market interest rate increase and decrease, how the bond price change, okay, and does the change of the bond price is the change of the bond price the same between increase and decrease, okay? What we will going to discuss further is that when there is a change of the market interest rate, suppose what we have discussed, the market interest rate decrease, bond price increase, right? Suppose there is 1% change, okay, of the market interest rate. When the market interest rate decrease 1% and market interest rate increase 1%, how the bond price change, and the size of the change is the same? The answer is may not be the same. Okay, may not be the same. Why? I'll show you later. Okay. And when the change is large enough, okay, you see that this increase is greater than the decreased one. Okay. When the yield, okay, decrease when the yield is increased, it will be greater than, okay? Percentage price increase is greater than the percentage price decrease, yeah. In order to explain this, let me show you this graph, okay? You have seen this graph before, right? This is a inverse. This graph shows the inverse relationship between the bond price and the market interest rate or the yield, right? Given that this is the current yield of the bond, this is the current yield of the bond. You see that this graph shows the inverse relationship. However, this graph does not linear one. It's not linear, right? It's not linear. If the graph is linear, so the increase of the yield and the increase and decrease of the yield may have the same effect of the would have the size of the chain of the bond would be the same, okay? But because of the graph is not linear, and as you can see that the slope when the yield decrease, you see that when the yield decrease, the slope of the yield curve is steeper, right? When the yield increase, the slope in the absolute, okay, in the absolute value, because this slope has negative direction, right? Yield increase, bond price decrease. Yield decrease, bond price increase. So basically, the slope there is a minus, right? But if you ignore the minus line that show the inverse relationship, you see that the degree of the change of the bond price, okay, you see that the slope is not the same, okay, the slope is not the same. You will see that at this point, when the yield increase to this, when the yield increase to this, and when the yield, where is by current yield? Sorry. By current yield is okay, here the current yield, sorry, this is the current yield, right? No. Okay, here is the current. Where's my current yield? This is delta Y. This is not current yield, right? Sorry, this one is quite confused. Anyway, just come up with a new one. Just come up with a new one. Actually, that would be the point in between here, but this one, this is delta Y. Change of the yield, but anyway, if you look at this relationship, okay, you see that when the yield increase, okay, when the yield increase, bond price decrease, right? However, the slope, the current slope, suppose I use this one. This is a slide that I obtained from the textbook, from one. Okay, sorry. It's already correct, right? My maybe teach too much. Oh, sorry. Okay, when the yield increase, the bond. Actually, I thought that okay, there is both increase and decrease, but in this graph it's just one direction. It will show you that okay, when the yield increase, bond price decrease to here. Okay. What about if the yield decrease? What about the yield decrease? the same? Right? Bond yield increase, bond price decrease to this. This is the bond price change for the given that certain yield change. What about when the yield decrease? Which one is has higher bond price? The change of the bond price change more. Which one? Left or right? When decrease or increase that make the price change more. In the absolute term. Increase? Decrease, right? Decrease because of the slope, right? Because of the slope, you can see that when the yield tend to decrease, the slope is steeper in the absolute value, right? The slope is steeper. Okay, so this is one property comparing between increase and decrease is not symmetric, decrease or increase. Okay. What about long-term and short-term bond? What about low coupon and low coupon bond? Okay. Now let's consider more for when we compare three different characteristics. Okay. Actually, this one already mentioned a little bit in the class that normally when the yield trade in the low level, change of the price is more sensitive than when the yield is at a high level. Okay. Okay, look at the coupon. Okay, look at the coupon. Comparing between two bonds that have other things just the same, except that there is only one difference. One is high coupon, the other one is low coupon. Which one would have more price sensitivity or more price volatility? Okay, the answer is the low coupon bond. Okay, the low coupon bond would have more price volatility. Why? Why low coupon bond has higher price volatility than the high one? If you look at the weight, okay, look at the formula of the bond valuation, comparing between two bonds, given that they have the same yield to maturity, right? When you consider the price change, price comes from present value of the coupon plus present value of the face value. So when you consider two bonds that have different coupon, you see that because the coupon occur, since time period 1 until period n, right? So based on the formula, you see that if you get more coupon or more cash flow early, so in case of high coupon bond, right? So there is more weight. Comparing between two bonds, one is pay more higher coupon, and because coupon pays since period 1 until period n. Okay, so the coupon that pay higher, the bond that pay high coupon would have low price sensitivity because of this coupon is higher, right? And because it has been less affected by the change of the discount rate. Comparing to another one, suppose you look at the extreme case, comparing between the low coupon rate like zero coupon bond compared to the high coupon bond, you see that the weight between receiving the cash flow, the low coupon bond would have make the more weight on the last payment, the face value. So because of the face value is occur at the maturity, and this would be get more effect by the when we discount, right, by 1 plus the discount rate take to the power of n. Okay, so comparing between low and high coupon, the high coupon make have more weight on the last coupon payment, but for the high coupon make a little bit more weight on the coupon. That make less sensitive to the change of the interest rate. Okay, if you understand this idea, you will understand the second one, the time to maturity between short term and long term one. Because of the long term one, okay, you will receive the face value at the maturity that is the end period from now. Comparing to the short term one, that you will receive the face value early. So it will be less affected by the discount, okay, effect. That make longer term period more sensitive than the short term one. Okay, if you look at this formula, you maybe understand what I mean. Okay, you look at the weight, proportion of the money you receive between coupon and the face value. Okay, and because of face value is occur at the maturity, right? And maturity would be get more effect by the change of the market interest rate because it takes the power of n rather than the coupon that get less effective in case of coupon. But in case of the face value, just compare the face value because face value is the last is more weight, right? Have more weight than the coupon. So when the short term bond receive the face value early, so it's less sensitive than the long term bond. Any question? This is try to explain by the not sure the logical explanation. Not sure if you understand this. Here just provide a numerical explanation. Just provide some number to compare the difference or the effect of the change of the market interest rate. Okay. Look at 6 bonds. Okay, 6 bonds, different maturity, different coupon rate. The first 3 on the left. 9% coupon for the 5 year, 9% 25 year, 6% 5 year. Okay. Because of the yield, okay, discount rate is 9%. So for the 9 coupon 5 year maturity, the value at the moment is 100 equal to par. And for the 6% coupon 5 year to maturity is discount because bond require yield equal to 9%. Okay, so if we change the market interest rate from 9%, you can see that from 9%, this is the change, okay? There is no 9 because the current is 9, and then this is the current price given the yield current market yield is 9%. If there is a change of the market yield from 9 to 9.01, 9.1, of course, the bond price would decrease, okay? Bond price would increase. This is just change from the current 9 is 1 basis point, 10 basis point, okay, and so on. For 9% coupon, 5 year, you see that when the interest rate or market rate increase, bond price decrease, right? Compare between 9% 5 year and 9% 25 year, okay? Short term and long term bond. You see that long term bond more sensitive to change of the market interest rate, right? For example, 10 basis point change increase from 9 to 9, not 10, but this one. 10 basis point from 9 to 9.1. The percentage price change, this one is almost 1%. This is 0.39%. Okay? If the market interest rate decrease for 10 basis point, this is 0.4 increase, this is 0.39. 1%, this is 0.98. Okay? Compare between 9% 5 year and 6% 5 year. You see that this one more sensitive than this one. 0.39, this is 0.41. Okay? Yesterday, one of you asked me how to come up with this number. Very simple, okay? Just provide the information you can solve for the price, the current price. However, in this example, it's assumed that the coupon is paid every 6 months. Okay, the coupon is paid every 6 months. Then you can try. I forgot to open the financial app. Okay, for this one, suppose let me use the Excel. Let's try just one. 6% coupon, 5 years. Six percent coupon, 5 years to maturity. The price is 8.13. Okay. Okay, the yield to maturity is 9%. So for first 6 months it's 0.045. NPR is 5 year, right? 10 period. And PMT is 3 because 6% per year, so $3 per 6 months. FV is 100. Okay, 88.13. Okay, so you can solve for other bonds. Here just provide another example. Suppose that the bond price, the yield change, okay, the yield change. For this one current, if there is a 100 basis point change, okay, for example, suppose that the current yield is 7%, the bond price is 123. If the bond price, if the yield increase 100 basis point or 1%, so you see that the bond price will decrease to 110. Okay, so you see that this is the price decline, $12, or the percentage decline is 10.3. Comparing to this, 13 to 14. Okay, so the price decreased from 70 to 65. Okay, this is the same number. And the percentage price change is 7.16. So basically this table just want to show you that, so the same 1% price, 1% price change, 1% yield change, that would be, indifferent change of the bond price. When the yield low, change more, 10%, for 1% change of the yield. This is 7% change. If the current yield is 13, and then it increased to 14, the price change 7%. But when the current yield is 7%, it increased to 8%, the price change 10%. Okay, the price change 10%. So this table just try to show the relationship on the property number 3 here. Okay. Okay. Either to look at the bond price volatility, there are, a few ways to measure the bond price volatility. Okay, measure the bond price volatility. The first one very straightforward. We just assume the change of the yield and then we look at the change of the bond price. Okay. The second one basically just the same as the last one. PVBP, price value of a basis point. We talk about this one by one. And the third one, the value of time change, and the key concept that we going to learn, duration and convexity. For the first one, full valuation. This one basically just very straightforward. We just assume like this, like what we have discussed here. This is the full valuation. Okay? You know the current price, the current yield. And then you just assume if the yield change at the moment immediately, okay, from the current yield 9% to some certain yield, how the price change. And then you can estimate the bond price, right, and the change of the bond price, given the change of the yield here. So this is the full valuation. If you have to do this for one bond, it's still okay. What about you have to do this for all bonds in your portfolio? This is quite, time consuming. Okay, so for the full valuation, basically you estimate the change of the bond price due to change of the yield based on the scenario or based on the assumption that you just explicitly assume. If the interest rate increase 0.5%, how the bond price change. And then you just re-estimate the value of the bond price given the new yield, that's all. Okay? Basically just revalue the bond given the new yield. If you have only one bond, it's okay. But if you have more than one, like 10, 20, and then you have to re-estimate, this may be quite time-consuming. Okay, that's why eventually you may need to use duration of complexity to have this. This is just one example to address or show how to use the full valuation with only one bond. So basically just the same as the previous table. Suppose this is the current information. Okay, this bond 9% coupon. Pay the coupon every 6 months. Time to maturity 20 years. Current price. Okay, this is the current price quoted as a percentage of the par. Yield to maturity 6%, par value. This in this case means the principal. Okay, the principal value. Okay, 10 million. So if basically we just implicitly assume about the change of the yield. Suppose the yield change 50% increase, sorry, not 15%, 50 basis point, 100. Hello? Not sure. Okay. This one is good. Okay. So we can recalculate. This is the current value. Okay, 134. To estimate the current bond price, you can use the formula, right? Okay, let me just show the timeline. Per one, if we price the bond as a percentage of, 100 of par, this bond is 20 years, but this one pay the coupon every 6 months, so number of periods is 40. Each period, the bond pay 4.5. Okay, this 4.5 comes from 9% multiplied by 0.5 multiplied by 100. Okay, so every 6 months, you get 4.5 plus the par 100. And current price, the yield to maturity is 3%, 6% per year. So 6% divided by 2, so it's equal to 3%. So you can solve for this, right? If you use the formula PV or price equal to 4.5, 1 minus 1 over 1 plus 0.03, 10 to the power of 40 divided by 0.03 plus 100, 1 over 0.03, 10 to the power of 40. Okay? So the current bond price, based on this formula, you should get around 134.67. And then you just re-estimate again with the new yield. For example, if the interest rate increased 50 basis points, so you just change the yield, the discount rate from 3 to 3.5. Okay, from 3. Oh, sorry, you have to subtract by 2. Oh, sorry, not subtract, divided by 2. So it becomes 3.25. Okay, let me show you. Okay, current price first. Current yield 3% per 6 months. NPR 40 period, right? PMT is 4.5 and FB is 100. Okay, so this is the current price 134.67. And then you want to know the change of the bond price when the interest rate increase 50 basis point or 0.5%, but it's 0.5% per year, so you have to divide by 2, so it's going to be 3.25%. Okay, 127.25, or multiply by the size of your portfolio. Okay. Okay, this is per 100, right? Per 100 of par. So your size of portfolio is 10 million, or you can compute the number of the units, right? Basically, this is the percentage. You can multiply by the principal 10 million, right? So you get the value right now is 12.77%. So it's decreased from this to this, and then you can estimate the percentage change of your bond portfolio, right? This is the full valuation. Basically, just estimate the bond value by using the new yield, by given the new yield. If the yield change to increase 1% or 100 basis points, so re-estimate again. So you get the new bond price, okay? And this in case of 200 basis points, you get the new bond price. And then you can estimate the percentage price change due to the change of the yield. Okay? Very simple for this one, but it takes time. So you can get the summary. Given 3 scenarios, 3 cases, when the interest rate increase 50 basis point, 100 basis point, 200 basis point, you can see that when there is a large change here, so the percentage change in the bond price or the market value change. 2% change, your portfolio value change or decrease almost 20%. Okay. PVBP Okay. Price value of a basis point. This is just one measure that we can use normally. Suppose that not sure whether Bloomberg also report this. For the duration, of course, the Bloomberg Reuters report the duration of the bond. But I'm not sure whether they also report PVBP too. The PVBP is the value, the change of the bond price, okay? If there is 1 basis point change of the yield, okay? It's just provide the change in the absolute term. Okay? Suppose that if given that 1 basis point change of the yield, how the bond price will change. That's all. If the value of the PVBP is high, it means that bond has high sensitivity or has high volatility comparing to the other one that has lower PVBP. Okay? Because it's assumed the same that okay, if the yield change 1 basis point or 0.01%, how the bond price will change. In the previous example, we assume 50 basis point change of the yield, 100 basis point change, right? But this is just a standard, but for given 1 basis point change. This one is just do the other way around, okay, to measure the bond price volatility. In the previous example that we have discussed, we assume change of the yield, given the change of the yield, and look at how the bond price change. If the bond price change more, given the same change of the yield, bond with the that has the degree of the change of the yield, that has a higher degree change of the yield, that bond has higher volatility, right? But this one do the other way around. Given the change of the bond price for the same amount, X dollar, compared to bond. Suppose to bond, you assume that okay, if the bond price change from current price to another price, say X dollar. Suppose current bond price is $100, 100 baht. Suppose the dollar, if the bond price change to 95, X is equal to 5, how the yield will change? So you solve for yield, new yield, given the change of the bond price. Okay, previously we talked about given the change of the yield, look at the change of the bond. Right now we look in the opposite direction. Change of the dollar, change of the bond price, look at change of the yield. So the interpretation would be the opposite too. Previously, one unit change of the yield, the bond which has higher change of the bond price, it has higher volatility, right? But for this one would be the opposite way. The smaller of the yield change, the greater the dollar price volatility. Okay. Given the same change of the dollar price, okay, the same change of the dollar price, bond with the yield the change less, okay, bond with the smaller yield change would have a greater bond price volatility. Okay. Okay, now we go to the duration. Duration, okay, there are quite different meaning, okay. Anyway, the one that is maybe more useful, the another one interpretation of the duration that is more useful is that the duration provide the bond price sensitivity, okay, the bond price sensitivity, and you see that the larger the value of the duration represent a higher bond price sensitivity. We will see later on how we can estimate the duration. Another definition of the duration, okay, because actually duration may have some different definition. Like normally this guy Macaulay is one academic that try to introduce the definition of the duration. Okay, however, the one that is more useful is modified duration, that is just extend the Macaulay duration. Okay, the Macaulay duration basically can be interpreted as the time value weighted. Okay, I think I'll show you the formula and then I will explain again about the Macaulay duration. But for the modified duration would be the one that is more useful because it can be used to measure the bond price sensitivity. Actually, Macaulay also can, but normally, we end up with this one either to produce or estimate the bond price, the bond price sensitivity or the change of the bond price due to the change of the bond yield. But this is the starting point. We start from Macaulay and then eventually we come up with the modified either to use to, and then we use the modified to estimate the change of the bond price given the change of the yield. So we will start from the Macaulay first. Okay, I already mentioned about the duration. There are a different meaning depending on the definition of the duration that we are talking about, which one that we are talking about. Okay, again, that just like the previous example, that duration it is the measure of the bond price volatility given that if the yield change, okay, and then we assume other things held constant. If the yield change, how that would change, how the bond price change, okay. Maturity is unchanged, right? Because we just chalk or we just assume that if the yield change immediately right now, how the bond price will change, okay. Okay, now we talk about the Macaulay duration. As you can see from this formula, the Macaulay duration is 1, 2, and n is the period. 1 is the period 1, 2 is the period 2. Multiplied by the cash flow received from that period, which is the coupon, right? As you can see, this is period. So period 1, receive the coupon. Period 2, receive the coupon. And period n, the last period, receive the last coupon payment and the future value or the face value. And divide by PV, the price of the bond, okay? We'll start from if we estimate the Macaulay duration at the coupon payment date first, okay? So this is the full price. It's just the same, right? No accrued interest at all. It's just the price at the coupon payment date. And then we will extend to if the price is in between. Okay, when we estimate the Macaulay duration in between the coupon payment date, we will have the formula that is slightly different from this. Now let's consider the numerator part. You see that PMT divided by 1 plus R, 1, and then PMT divided by 1 plus R2. So you can view this as a present value, right? This is a present value. This is a present value. This is a present value, right? So the Macaulay duration is just the time value weighted, right? Because 1, 2, 3, 4, this is a period of time, and multiplied by the present value of the cash flow received in each period. Okay, the cash flow received in each period. So sometimes Macaulay duration can be interpreted as how long does it take either to make, because this in total you can see that this is eventually you can look at this is the proportion of the money, right? Present value of the money for each period, and then if you take P to divide into this, you will come up with a weight, right? PV multiplied by this, PV multiplied by this, PV multiplied by this is the weight of the money per PV is the total amount that you pay. So eventually this is the time average, yes, time average, right? Based on the value of the money that you receive, the weight of the money that you receive in each period. So macular duration can be interpreted as the average time, right, that you will receive the amount that you pay, the price that you pay. How long does it take that you receive the amount of the investment or the price that you pay? Because you can see that this is a weight, right, relative to this one. This is money, present value of the money that you receive. This is the total price that you pay. Okay, so this divided by this divided by this, and so on. This is the weight of the money that you receive each period until you get 100% of the money. Because you some weight of this, it will be equal to 100%, right? The money that you pay, the PV here. So it can be interpreted as the time weighted that you will receive, the average time that you will receive the money, the amount that you pay for the bond price, for this bond price. So the longer the period means that it would take longer time either to get the value that you pay or the price that you pay. Anyway, by interpreting like this may not be related to the bond price volatility. But it's just one way that we can interpret the macular duration. Okay, this formula is slightly different from the previous one when we assume that, okay, we will estimate the macular duration when we consider in between the coupon payment date, right? So the difference is just, this used to be 1, you have to subtract y, 2 subtract y because of from the time that you price the bond until the next coupon payment is not equal to 1 period. It's just 1 minus y period. And also the second payment is not equal to 2, but it's 2 minus y, right? And the denominator also the same because of the time that we price the bond is just 1 minus y period. So it's equal to 1 plus r take to the power of 1 minus y, and so on. So this is a formula for the macular duration when we estimate in between the coupon payment date. Okay, in between the coupon payment date. And as I mentioned, right, this is just show in another form that this is the weight of the money, proportion of the money that we get or we receive for the first time, the first coupon. This is the present value divided by the total amount that we pay for this bond, right? So this is a proportion of the money we receive for the first coupon multiplied by the period. This is also the same weight of the money that we receive for the second time, and so on. Okay. So you can think about this as a weight of the money, and so on until WF. And the first term is the period, right? This is the period. Okay, let's take a break first. Maybe you already hungry.